Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to GamesHUB, a crypto talk show with our investors, partners, and remarkable personalities. This week, we have a special guest. Meet Gary Onco Putera, the CEO and founder of Boom Esports, a top esports team in Southeast Asia. And Boom has over 30 professional players and has recently won a big, important tournament, the final gameplay in Dota 2 against Fanatics. By the way, I used to be Dota player myself, so this is very
Great.
dear and near. I know how hard it is, so we'll talk about this today. And according to the latest news, on July 16th, Boom will play their final match with Talon, right, to secure their first place in DPC
Mhm.
Southeast Asia, the third tour. Congratulations! It's honestly an amazing achievement, guys. I mean, we're routing for you as our partners, So today we're going to discuss, the evolution of gaming and how eager people are, to understand how esports are proliferating, like the entire crypto space as well, transitions. And before we start, I'd like to remind you, as our community, that you can write our questions right here in the live chat, and our guests will answer them at the end of the discussion. So no matter if you're on YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live, if you're on Twitter Live, any live you are in, please write your questions. We're gonna ask Gary at the end. Gary, hi again. Sorry for the long intro, but just had to talk
No
about how good
worries.
you are.
No worries, Constantin.
Yeah. So listen, we'll go straight to the point, right? So in recent years, the video game industry has experienced an enormous shift in the economic value, giving birth to like a lot of multi-billion, multinational, multi-dimensional businesses, right? So from your standpoint as a person who founded successful esports team and now like a big business, right? Can you tell us how you entered this fast growing industry, and you share a little bit more about your background?
Yeah, definitely. So for those who don't know, I'm Indonesian. I was born in Indonesia. And I guess quick background to the video gaming industry. Growing up, I've just always been really fond of gaming, right? Whether that was Nintendo back in the days, going to arcades before all these high tech PCs, high tech mobiles kind of came along. Yeah, it's just always been a passion and a hobby of mine, right? Growing up in middle school and around high school, I actually competed in 1.6 Counter Strike 1.6 quite competitively, uh,
Mm.
locally in Indonesia. Um, but I mean, this is what 15 years ago. I think there was no career path yet at the time, right? Salaries were definitely not as great as today. Prize pools for tournaments were also really really small compared to today. Um, but yeah, it's something that I've just kind of always kind of was always interested in. I continued my studies in the U.S. So I think I spent about 8 years in the U.S. finishing my master's. So during those 8 years, I think was when I kind of thought of esports as a viable career, right? Whether that was as a player or as a team owner. Um, I just remembered, by the end of 2016, which was the year I left, in the US, tournaments were like starting, they were starting to be millions of dollars. They were getting primetime TV on the weekend, like 7 p.m. on a Friday, before an NBA game. So it was like, wow, like it's starting to be really real. Whenever I go to malls in the US, people are wearing like esports jersey, like they're wearing football jerseys. It's like, wow, these guys are actually pretty cool. So yeah, so I came back, worked a bit for my parents, but then I still had some connections from my playing days. So I kind of just started Boom Esports as a side hobby, right?
Mhm.
Picked up a Counter Strike Global Offensive team at the time and a Dota 2 team, and yeah, just kind of built from there. And then here we are, kind of traveling here and there in the world, qualifying to a couple of big tournaments. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of the quick short intro.
I appreciate it. And I used to play myself, so I totally understand your journey. Like back in the days, I'm originally from Ukraine, so back in the days that we had like those esports clubs, where you used to
Yeah.
hide during the night, I can play with teams. Like that was fun times, like. Look, right now the world's first digital computer game, like Space War, when it was released in '60s, like if you're getting into back in the days where before we were even born, it involved only two gamers playing against each other, like, with a one spaceship each. It was very like, I was very surprised to know that the first ever esports tournament was hosted, by Al Laboratory in Stanford University. Actually, I don't know if you knew that, right? So 25 Stanford students were playing the same game, Space War. But obviously many things have changed from there. Now we have massively played games, like with thousands, like maybe sometimes hundreds of thousands of people simultaneously. So in your opinion, like, can you give us a little bit of overview of the current state of the gaming industry? Where do you think it is right now, and where do you think is leading? And if you can connect it a little bit to the crypto evolution, it will be great.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, I mean, you touched on it, right? Like, gaming has grown so much in the last, decade, I guess, 10 years, right? You see, back in the days we were playing console, it was all single player. If you wanted to play, you have to come over to your friend's house and all that stuff, or a LAN cafe, whatever you name it. And then now, like you said, we're playing these PC games, some now even mobile games, right? You can play on your phone with like hundreds of thousands of people at one time. And it's really great, right? That's what advances in technology and internet allows us to achieve nowadays, right? So yeah, just quickly touch on the gaming industry. There's obviously different segmentations, right? Even I guess back in the day, maybe publishing was like the only kind of lucrative thing. Now you see so many game publishers. Now there's esports, right? Now there's teams, players, all that stuff. Now there's tournament organizers. These are all different kind of verticals of the gaming online industry, right? Video gaming industry, sorry. And then, I guess, touching on your last part, the most exciting one, which is, I guess going to be the norm, maybe 5 to 10 years from now. You see this kind of crazy growth of crypto, a couple of, P2E or Web3 gaming, I guess. Axie Infinity, I guess, is the most kind of popularized one. But I'm very sure that, with the current growth of, game quality of games, quality of Web3, technological advances, I do think that in 5 to 10 years, there will be a AAA game that's, there will be a Dota that's going to be Web3, that's going to be maybe have a P2E, mechanics to it. And, it's literally, again, it's just going to make it easier for people to make a career out of they live, right? Which is gaming, right? So yeah, I guess that's kind of really quick overview of it.
Yeah, we'll go deeper into it. So have another question, which is continuation of the previous one. So how have you entered, in the gaming industry, like professionally, right? So what was your first like favorite video game? Like, when did you actually realize that, you can make enough money to make it as your, not just a hobby, but actually profession?
Yeah. So, like I said, I've always been a gamer, so it was always something of interest to me. And obviously, seeing esports specifically grew, just kind of, I knew at the time, like 2016, if I was American or if I was, kind of living in the US and was going to make a career in the US, it was already very, achievable then, right? But then obviously, I went back to Indonesia. Southeast Asia is a bit of a less developed region, I guess, at the time, right? 2016. So I knew that I had to start kind of small, right? There wasn't a lot of teams. There wasn't a lot of, popular games here too, right? And even the taste of games are very different, right? Region to region. Even now, even today, it's very different, right? In Asia, we play a lot of mobile games. It's something very foreign to a lot of the, of our like Western viewers, I guess, like what you play games on your mobile and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, to put a concrete date on it, maybe 2018, just kind of 2 years after running Boom, I just suddenly got busy, It's like I suddenly got a lot of meetings for sponsorships. A lot of teams were like reaching out, do you want to pick us up? And that's kind of when I was like, all right, you know what, maybe I should take a stab at it, right? Like give it, like my full focus, undivided attention. So that's kind of when I leap full-time into Boom.
Let me ask you a quick question, which is more
Okay.
I think very exciting. So what was the biggest prize you've ever won? Like dollar, like in dollars, let's say.
As an org?
Yeah.
In terms of prize pool, I think it would be around 150 grand US dollars.
Okay.
But we've made over like $1 million through in-game items. So, sometimes like nowadays, I guess it's NFTs, right? The OG NFTs. When you qualify to certain events or you play in certain tournaments, they make like in-game merchandise that's like team colors, team flags, whatever it is. And a lot of our fans would buy it, and we get a share percentage of those revenue. So some went up to 7 digits. So that would be like, I guess, the biggest income we've gotten from as an org, yeah, to date. Hopefully there's bigger deals to be made down the road, but yeah.
Yeah, I see. That's like, listen, that's impressive. Like, so in-game assets, we can talk about it like a bit further, right? Because in reality, like, how do you monetize? Let's say you have $1 million worth of in-game assets, right? So a lot of people who are not like avid gamers, it will be interesting for them. How do you even like sell them? Because you see the difference between, like, I understand the world of NFTs, at least like you have like somehow the promise of liquid market. Now, how do you sell just a regular in-game item? That's a different story.
Yeah. So yeah, I think because they make it so seasonal and kind of like season based, like, let's say there's a major, for example, let's say the next major is coming up. Maybe Valve or Dota 2 developers, Valve would create some kind of like boom official skin for a certain hero in the game that of our choosing. And then a lot of the, and then the masses would then be interested in purchasing this hero or skin, right? Of our team colors or whatever that is. And then we get a share of that revenue. And then I guess, in terms of kind of understanding NFTs or the value of in-game items, right? You can think of it, I guess, as just, just literally just like NFTs, right? I mean, those who've dabbled into NFTs, when we talk to like to a general person, I guess, on the road and be like, hey, look, I just spent, even if it's $100 on a picture, they'll be like, I don't understand it, right? But the market is there and the demand is there, and the user base of these games are there, right? At the end of the day, CS:GO skins, for those who play CS:GO or kind of spend a lot of time in CS:GO, some of those skins can go up to 50K for like an op skin, and everyone's like, it's just a cosmetic, but like, when there's a when there's the demand, there's a market for it.
So is this a correct estimate that like the 50K per skin, a person would play who would buy it because they need like a certain recognition, because inside like the game, in this ecosystem, in this community, this is respect. This is something like a medal of honor, like in this world. And that's, let's be honest, this is just cool because you're unique, you're exceptional, right? Is this a correct assumption?
Yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of it all, that is the correct assumption, right? Like, it sounds crazy, but these things are actually relatively liquid, right? I mean, obviously, if you want to get best price, it'll be, you'll need time to find a buyer. But if you're willing to sell it like market price or slightly below market price, there are a lot of buyers or whales, I guess, in the gaming world that would be interested in picking it up instantly, right? And there's a lot of forums, there's a lot of markets that like third-party markets that's actually like a legitimate business from just trading and selling in-game items, right? It's actually, yeah, I mean, yeah. It's pretty insane. I mean, again, when you try to explain it to someone who doesn't play the game, it's hard, right? Like, why would I spend thousands of dollars on something that doesn't give me an advantage? It doesn't give you an edge in the game, right? Other than maybe you play and you always feel better playing because your guy looks really cool, like you look really unique. No one really has that skin, but yeah, there's definitely a market for it.
Nice. No, that's good to know. So we can do a segue to another part of the conversation. So I'm sure you've heard that Microsoft recently acquired Activision Blizzard, which if you ever played StarCraft, guys, and this is like one of the iconic companies that created a lot of great games, and it has shown us that while it's still early days, the esports shift to the metaverse and is now becoming a reality, because that's what they announced. They basically announced that they're trying to then like all the assets of the company, they're trying to get to metaverse. I guess this is like now a competition. Like Facebook is rebranded to Meta, like, you know, and then many other companies like, you know, are trying to become metaverse friendly. So what's your take on this? What do you think will happen with the evolution of esports, and how will it interact with in metaverse?
Yeah, I think just esports as like the start. 5 years ago when I started, Boom Esports, everyone's like, this guy went to the US, get a master's degree, and is making an esports team. Like, what even is an esports team, And here we are, right? Like, oh, now it's very mainstream. Now everyone kind of knows about esports. I honestly feel the same way about metaverse, right? As someone who's, kind of, I guess, involved in the Web3 industry, I kind of invest in crypto and all the above. I think that, it's something that's inevitable in 5 to 10 years, right? And that's mainly due to the, again, advancement of technology, like the rapid advancement of technology, right? Before maybe, to get faster internet takes you like 5 years. Now every year you're getting like, from 1 gig to 10 gig speed, it's just exponential growth, right? Then you see the shift of working class, right? Back when I was trying to, let's say, play professionally in high school, my parents are very, they're like, what you're playing PC games, you're trying to go all in. What is this, right? But then now, I'm going to be the one that's going to be parents, right? And if my kid ever goes to me and be like, and if he's really good, you're gonna be realistic, right? Because not everyone's gonna be able to be a pro. But if it was realistic, I would be more open to the idea, right? And so the metaverse, I think it's something that you're seeing the shift of, especially with the pandemic that just happened, right? Everyone's now just always on their device, right? This work from home for like 2 years. And now even traditional companies are now starting to realize that, look, we can be as productive without actually, wasting time in transportation, traffic, and all the above, right? And then if you look at kids nowadays, they're always glued to their iPads, phones, computers, whatever that is, right? So I think eventually, in 5 to 10 years, metaverse is just something that's going to be, commonly accepted. And I think that from an esports point of view, I think it's really great because I can imagine, somewhere down the road, as the advances happen, imagine how cool would it be if you're watching an esports event, but like immersive, like you're actually in the map, but you're a viewer. I'm trying to say? Like, that's so cool, right? And you can use, your avatars or whatever that is. Or let's say teams start making their own metaverse or tournaments or the games, right? Like the games have their own metaverse. And, you can always go and visit, the lore of the game that you love so much, instantly, right? And it's such, I think it's going to be so great. Esport, if you enjoy watching esports now, like you should be excited for what, the potential of like an esports metaverse, right, to happen.
So let's talk about the practicality of this. So you, I mean, number one team in like in Indonesia, we can say so, right? And in your league and your kind of the games you represent, I'm sure you're respected in the entire Southeast Asia, right? And what do you think is going to happen practically in the metaverse? Let's say, first of all, when do you think you will playing in the metaverse? How will it look? How will it change the gameplay? And maybe let's talk about a few things in practicality and you can even speculate a little bit because we don't know what's going to happen, obviously. I mean, technology is not up to par right now. It's not ready fully to handle like thousands of players simultaneously. We know that for sure. But still, let's imagine it is there already, right? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think definitely a lot of the esports teams would kind of well, first of all, I think a lot of the publishers that are relatively smart, I guess, not to offend anyone, would definitely start investing into their own metaverse, right? Because at the end of the day, these games, they're all of these titles, right? These different games, they have their own world and their own lore. They just kind of publish, but you can only experience it through the game, right? Because that's, I guess kind of touching on what you said about the limits of what it is now. But then, when speculatively, I would assume that, and have their little plots in their metaverse, right? Where our fans could come and see us, maybe then see your team, maybe see GamesPad or whatnot. And then keep in mind that at the end of the day, nowadays, all these big publishers and all these big video games company, they got a couple of games from the same world, right? Kind of like interconnected. So that, like, we always have like fan theories, and all the gamers are always into creating these kind of, oh, what is the characters from, let's say, League of Legends has to do with Valorant, because they're both Riot, right? But then once Riot, hopefully one day they'll make their own metaverse, then you can really see what the creators had in mind, right, for these different things, right? And like I said, I think the viewership experience would just be kind of unreal, right? I can't even imagine what it's going to be like. But if right now I'm watching from players A point of view, players B point of view, how cool would it be if I was like just a bystander in the metaverse watching them? It's like as if I'm there, but I'm not there, right? I think that would be like really cool. Yeah,
And
that's the way I see it.
It might unite also a lot of people from all the world, like, for example, people from
Exactly.
Europe and like, other like Latin America, let's say Asia, right? Typically, they never like work together. I'll give you an example. We were playing where I remember that back in the days, like even like, right, there are a lot of teams from Korea, let's say, or from also from different like South Africa. I've never seen them in my life. I don't even know how a live person looks behind the avatar. We had a lot of chats together. It was like funny, like cool, but like, and we never had actually like a transition to real world, what I would actually imagine a person behind this, right? So now it's changing, like, from the online cafe time, as you mentioned. So it's fun. But again, we are the goal of this talk show is also not us to talk, because we can do it obviously separately, but also to
Talk
share
for
the
hours.
knowledge. Exactly. Open up to the audience, right? So let's go from here to the questions from our live chats. So we do a blitz, and I'll just read your question and you throw your answers. So we have a first question from Makun from YouTube. So he's asking, will Boom Esports enter the future GamesPad metaverse? I saw it being mentioned on Boom Comics. Someone was very observant.
Yeah, I mean, can't give too much away, but obviously we are partners. And as from this talk show, you guys can hear that us from Boom is very excited about the metaverse. So we would love to join our partners metaverse. Of course, that's the simple answer to it. In what form? That's something that we gotta put some thought into. But yeah, definitely.
Gary, and I was becoming like a very good politician here. No, good. I love it. Okay, so Faraz from YouTube is asking, how does Boom contribute to the gaming space, and what are the biggest achievements to this date?
Yeah, so I think, as an esports team, we provide like, I guess indirectly, like the platform for aspiring gamers who really want to become pros and make a career out of it, right? Because the publisher, the game creator, they don't really get involved with kind of scouting talents, having the events themselves, right? Like that's kind of up to us to make a team, find the right talents, and then try to create some magic there, right? A really great world class team. I think our biggest achievement is probably this year, right? We went to the second major, which was in Stockholm, and that was obviously we qualified to Arlington, Texas, but that what happened like last week, so we're not there yet. So our biggest achievement would have been Stockholm, and that was our first major as an org, the only second Southeast Asian team to go to Stockholm. I guess is it a coincidence that we partnered up with you guys when this happened? Probably not, huh?
We bring good luck, to
yeah. Definitely.
Okay. So, by the way, I apologize. This was a question from Shan, right? So now the question from Faraz is a bit different. Also from YouTube, he's asking, what's the best piece of advice you ever received about gaming, and can you share it with us?
Yeah, I think the best piece of advice I got is that obviously at the end of the day, a lot of the user base or gamers are casual gamers, right? They're not professional. If you are someone who's going to really I guess try to pursue a professional career, my advice would be, if you do think you have the talent, you have to give it your all, right? At the end of the day, these guys are like professional athletes, like for example, my Dota team, we have 5 players. There's 2 teams from Southeast Asia to the major. That's 10 out of the whole of Southeast Asia that is a major qualified player. You see what I'm trying to say? But I do believe that, so it's not, and don't misconcept it with, all I have to do is play games every day. Like, yeah, you have to play a lot of games every day, but you also gotta practice and take the game seriously per se, right? Like you gotta, you don't just practice aimlessly. Like you have to practice with a goal in mind, right? I want to get better at this character. I want to achieve certain things, goals, and all that stuff. So that'd be my best advice, right? Like it can be really lucrative. It can be really, really lucrative. But you do have to give it your best, right? Just like with anything you do in this world.
Exactly.
That'd be the best piece of advice I got. Yeah.
It's a beautiful one, and it pertains to anything in life, right? So, there's another good question, which is a continuation of the previous. I think Moxie from Twitter is asking, "What is the main thing that makes a game success?" And I think it would be good to maybe connect it to the context of if you were to pick like a new game that you would compete, right? What would you consider would be a successful game that you as a professional team would actually start like developing your skills at?
Yeah, I think the first thing that we would kind of do our due diligence on is definitely like the user base, right? Is this game popular? And then second, is it representative of the world? Because for us specifically in Boom, we try to be one of the best teams in the world. So we got to play games that are represented globally. Because there are some games that are very popular, but let's say in a region or in a country, but it's not really world per se, right?
And when you say popular, what's the threshold we're talking about? Like, what's the minimum amount? Like million players?
Yeah,
Global?
I would say maybe over 1 million globally. That'd be kind of like really popular. If we're looking at like just like a local or regional team, maybe a game that's over like 100, daily users would be kind of okay. Again, it depends on like the how much investment we also want to put, right? That's from our point of view of what a popular game is. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. So Nakamoto-san from YouTube, I don't know if it's the Nakamoto.
The real one.
So what hardships Boom had to bear while coming up with the gaming space, and do you still struggle with them?
Yeah, no, definitely. Maybe now not as much as when I first started 5 years ago. 5 years ago, in Indonesia or in Southeast Asia, internet was still like it's not as maybe many of the viewers are experiencing it nowadays, right? Good internet providers were still very hard to find in terms of stability and all that stuff. In terms of even like computer components, like of course we had all that was necessary, but the price were also kind of it wasn't retail price in the US or Europe or you name it, right? So there was a lot of startup cost. And I guess in the last 2 years, there's this kind of this new gaming space, which I kind of mentioned earlier about the mobile gaming space, right? Which is really, it's sort of a new industry. Like, yes, it's esports, but it's like, very different revenue streams and whatnot. And then the up and coming P2E and all that stuff. So it's kind of like new industries that we just gotta do our due diligence in, right? And obviously make mistakes along the way to learn better and all that stuff. Cause we are one of the bigger teams. It's not like we can Google these things and get the answer, let's say with the traditional industry. So that's kind of, I think, where a lot of the hardship comes from, is that it's such a, even though it's big, it's still relatively very young and new. So most of the time we just kind of really got to taste firsthand experience, whether it's good or bad, right? And just kind of deal with that.
Got it. No, it's totally understandable. Still growing market. So I think it will be the last question for today. And, so Yusuf from Twitter is asking, so hello, sir, got a quick question. Who are some of your favorite game characters that you idolize in your youth? and are they still your heroes?
I have to think a bit. Let's see. Favorite gaming characters. Um, I think the one that always stood out to me in terms of kind of as a kid was Super Mario Bros. Just because that was like the game that, I think that was like the first game that I really spent a lot of time on, and obviously spent a lot of time with my dad because it was obviously his console. He was the one trying to finish the game, and and I guess Luigi would have been my favorite because I don't know, I'm like one of those guys that try to not be mainstream. So I really liked everybody's going for the red guy. I'm gonna be I like the green guy, trying to say. So Luigi would have been like, I guess Luigi and Yoshi would have been like the standout in terms of like, for as long as I can remember, I've always liked those characters, right?
Amazing. So I'm not going to ask if they're still your heroes because that's that's I'm sure that changed. But listen,
Yeah.
Gary, really appreciate your time and appreciate all your the knowledge that you've shared. We want to do it more, and I want to do it again. For now, like we just really like appreciate that, and from on behalf of our community. And please visit the website that we'll share. That Boom is our official partner. So their community, now you can write all your questions. So not only like during the episode, we'll forward it obviously to the guys, like even after the show, I'm sure they will comment it in their spare time. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining GamesHUB today, a crypto talk with our investors, partners, and remarkable personalities, just as Gary are. Listen to us every week at 3 p.m. UTC on YouTube live on every Thursday, and then we have, as you see, on Twitter, LinkedIn, and other platforms. So we really appreciate your questions, and please prepare more for the next time. And so far, just watch some amazing games of Boom. Like they're like out there publishing it on YouTube. They have vibrant communities in Discord and other social media, and we're gonna keep on supporting them to become #1 in the world, right?
Definitely. Thank you, GamesPad. I mean, it's again, like I said, it's no coincidence we got to where we are this year after you guys came on board, right?
Yes, we're doing a
lucky
lot.
charm. Lucky charm.
Yes. Thank you so much, Gary, and wish
Thank
you
you so
best
much,
of luck.
Constantin. Have a great day, everyone.
All
Stay
right,
safe.
cheers.
Thanks. Bye.